West is dead. It's not funny. Jonathan West died of AIDS in 1990. His longtime partner and friend, Dennis Perrin, started Proposition P back in 1991. He gained almost 700,000 signatures to the opposed only needed 400,000 in loving memory of his partner. But in Mr. West's death, there was life. Life that carried on through the next century, life that carried on through Spark, through his partner, and setting the bar for medical marijuana throughout the country. It's impossible to determine how many people own recommendations in California because there is no database. There's nothing that says in the law that you are required to verify or validate your license. There's no volunteering of information of yourself. But the Huffington Post estimates 615,000 of us 38 million Californians own our medical recommendations. How many it really is, I believe personally, is far more, but the Huffington Post has their numbers. Proposition 215 and Senate Bill 420 lack character. Their terms are vague. The legislation allows for constant drug abuse inside our state. And first, I'll explain why this legislation promotes drug abuse. Or excuse me, first I will explain this legislation so we can all understand. Second, I'll explain how this legislation promotes drug abuse. And third, I will inform you on actions we can take to change these laws. Senate Bill 215 is extremely long and extremely complicated. It's in direct conflict with federal law classifying marijuana as a Class 1 narcotic, and anybody caught with any form of Delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol is, whether it be from dried flowers, lip balm, chapstick, edibles, seeds, anything that you can have with this compound in it is illegal due to federal law. But not in California. According to the Capital Connection, Volume 6, Issue 1, Prop 215, passed with a 56% vote in California. In 2006, November, we can see the yes states are green, or the yes counties are green, the no counties are blue, and you say, let the no counties outweigh the green counties like a 10 million %. It's the population inside those smaller counties, San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, they're not really big, but the population inside, and that's what they voted for. Senate Bill 420, aka the Medical Marijuana Protection Act expansion, among other things, allowed collectives or dispensaries, as I like to call them, to be able to sell, grow, and distribute their own marijuana under a donation status. So if you ever walk into a dispensary and be like, hey, let me get an eighth of that, they're going to be like, please, one donation for that eighth of whatever you want. You don't buy it, you donate to their cause, and in turn they give you a gift. Now that we know a little bit about the laws, let's see how these laws contribute to California's drug abuse. Current legislation is extremely lenient. According to the website cannabisdoctorsnetwork.com, it's great. All you have to do, you put your city, you put your state, you put your county, you push enter, and it says these 2 locations for doctors who are already available to take your money, your time, to pretty much buy a medical marijuana recommendation. Anybody can walk in, claim anything, because the language is based so loosely that anything goes. Richard Cohen, former leader of NORML, or National Organization to Reform Marijuana Laws, is quoted saying in a rare video, the key to it is medical access. Once you have hundreds of thousands of people using medical marijuana under medical supervision, the whole scam is totally blown. Once there's medical access, then we will have legalization. And I love that he used the word scam, because anytime somebody comes in and wants to make a change, wants to make a difference, some organization, some grassroots organization who has political links tries to get involved, And they're no longer for the AIDS patients, they're no longer for the cancer survivors, they are for money and themselves. And that's exactly why this bill is written the way it is. So more doctors can be available for more patients, for more money, because you're literally walking in there, spending 30 minutes with a doctor who, mine was over Skype. My doctor was over Skype. And it was a woman, I kept calling her sir. It was really but that's basically what it is. You're buying a recommendation. They're not recommending it for you. You're walking with cash and saying, recommend to me, I want my medical marijuana. But now that we know the law, now that we know the loopholes, what really can we do about it? I mean, what are we going to march on the streets of Washington? What are we going to sign petitions? To me, you can't fight the government. I was in the Navy. I'm a disabled veteran, along with a couple other things with me. Most of my lower back. 99% of the time I have to go look at Ryan. It's that one time where I overexert myself or I sleep incorrectly and I'm shot. And I have 2 back braces, one for support and one to keep me up like this. And the Navy paid for that once I got out, and they didn't recommend marijuana, but I went that route. So what are we going to do? It's not, you know, what can we really do? And it's really hard to say. However, University of California, Berkeley offered a book, California Law Review Volume 9, and they said to make a law in California, first it needs to be drafted, then there's a first reading, then a committee hearing, then a fiscal committee hearing, and then a second reading. Then it needs to be recommended for passage, then the floor vote is tallied, a resolution of difference for the other side, and then it could sit on the governor's desk for 12 days. And he could sign it, he could not sign it, or in the worst case scenario, he could veto it, and the poll process starts all over again. So marching on Washington wasn't really my big plan. In Mark Warren's book, Life Expansion Playbook, 30 Days of a More Fulfilling Life, says those who lead in their life do so because they base their lives on universal principles and timeless truths. I think I have come to a universal principle and or a timeless truth. The only way, in my mind, that we're going to be able to stop this is, since we know anybody over the 18th walk into a doctor's office and get a recommendation, I recommend we all walk into the doctor's office and get a recommendation. Now hear me out. Hear me out. I know, I'm not all saying we're all going to go smoke pot all day. All right, I get it, but I'm not there. If there's no official numbers in this state keeping track of how many of us there are, if we all get our card, if we all go through the voluntary recommendation and we put our numbers out there to this state, 38 million people in California, what if 12 million had their card? What if 15 million had a card? What kind of message would that send to Michelle Lionheart, the administrator of the DEA, charged by Obama to keep drugs out of our country? What would that say to her? 15 million Californians walking around smoking pot. You know, they wouldn't have to enact change. We wouldn't have to do anything. We sit on our butt and say thanks. We don't have to do anything. If everybody goes out and get your card and put your numbers out into the system, they will change the system for us. They're going to say, wait a minute, California, bunch of potheads. Not everybody can do this. We need to constrict the system. They'll tighten up that loose terminology. They'll take the vagueness out. They'll prosecute doctors who do not, or should I say, do accept money just for buying that recommendation. I have a copy of my recommendation here. And this is what it looks like. It's just a piece of paper. It has my doctor's rubberized stamped signature, because she wasn't even in the room. She was somewhere in California. The lady at the desk stamped it for me, and then took this little California state of approval, and then bam, 20 minutes later, I was in a dispensary getting hooked up. Just like that, for recreational use. I mean, I use it sometimes for my back, but 90% of the time, it's recreational use. In conclusion, we have learned about Proposition 215 and Senate Bill 420. We have learned how these loopholes are exposed and how people, every day, every second, 600 and some odd thousand of us in this state, use the system to get our medical recommendations. We have exposed the loopholes, and the only way I see that we can end this is for everyone to get their card. Thank you.